Welcome to Live Free. I'm Angela K. Austin. Together, we'll discuss books, we'll explore the world, and we'll do it with some of my closest friends. And hopefully, we'll make new ones along the way.
Hey everybody, I am Angela K. Austin, and today I'm here with Dariel Raye. Say hi to everybody, Dariel.
Hi, everybody.
All right. So I wanted to interview Dariel today because, guys, like you guys hear me talk about it all the time. We talk about author tribes. We talk about longevity in this indie publishing game. You know, we talk about understanding the business behind the books, collaborations, all these things. And so I wanted to invite Dariel today because I swear, I don't even remember where, when, how I met Dariel, but I've known her for so long. But this is our first time actually laying eyes on each other, guys. Can you believe that? So I wanted to, invite Dariel here to talk with me today about her books, her writing, that piano that's in the corner back there behind her, but I wanted to just, share Dariel Raye with you guys. So Dariel, before we start, for people out there who may not know Dariel Raye, tell us some of the basics. How long have you been in the indie game? How long have you been writing, and why do you write?
Won a competition with novella, and that's how I really got into the indie industry. I was still published with some other publishers, but well, actually, no, that didn't happen until after that. But anyway, that's how long it's been. I forgot. So yeah, but since about 2012. But I wrote a book in 2008, but it was an experiment. And then I stopped and didn't do anything else for 4 years because I was working such long hours, and I wasn't sure that I was going to continue trying to do anything professional. So,
So 2008, you said it was an experiment?
yeah, I wanted to see. In fact, back then you had to print out all the pages and send them to each publisher. Trying to get a book deal. That's how long ago. That's how much things have changed over the years.
We would have to print off like the first 3 chapters or something, sometimes the whole manuscript. And then you had to put it in an envelope and mail it, and then you had to return postage as well.
Yeah.
Back, and all of them didn't always return your book. I forgot about that.
Right. In fact, most of them didn't. They didn't return anything. You were lucky if you got a letter back saying we don't want it. Or, do this or do that and resubmit. Because, every now and then when you were really, really lucky, you would get that. But yeah, but you had to do your research. You used to have these big, thick books. You go through and you find these different publishers, and you choose the ones that seemed like they might be interested in your writing style and your story and everything. And then send out these big envelopes full of all this paper that you had printed. Yeah. So, you didn't ask me all that, but it just brought back memories because, I just got to put that out of my mind over the years.
I'm glad you reminded me. I literally forgot that's how we used to do this. It wasn't about email. It wasn't about, like right now, I think Harlequin or somebody, I can't remember who it is, but they are doing like a hashtag thing on Twitter where they have like a whole day where authors can submit, to them via hashtag. No, that was not the game.
I know.
That was not the game, guys. It was not.
Yeah.
It was not that. It was not that easy at all.
Twitter was around then. Did we even have Twitter back then in 2008? I don't know. I don't think so though, because it was like but I remember 2008. That was the first book that I published, and in fact, I'm going to rewrite it at some point. But after that, it was 4 years before I published anything else. And again, that was a contest. I think I took the summer off, and there was a contest, and I won the contest. And once I wrote that one, I've been in it ever since.
Well, now, what genres do you write within, Daryl? Because I hop around, a little paranormal, women's fiction, contemporary. What's like your sweet spot? What's your favorite? But then
Oh
where
my
do you
goodness.
dabble?
It's hard to say what my favorite is anymore. If you had asked me probably 2 years ago, I would have said paranormal romance and urban fantasy because most of my books are paranormal romance and urban fantasy. And I still love those. I still love those movies, those series, and I try to write what I like to see and what I like to read. So that was the first thing I started writing. But lately, I've been working on more psychological sense stories, and I have a few contemporaries too. So, and in fact, I'm getting ready to pursue some nonfiction, and that's something my mom has wanted me to do for years. She said she would be proud because they wouldn't be nasty. But so yeah, so kind of jumping around doing different things. Not so much jumping around, but I guess uh trying to do it all. As far as the things that I'm interested in, because I've,
Exactly.
I've always loved reading.
Yeah.
So I like to read some of everything. So
Mhm.
it's kind of hard to just limit what I write to just
Mhm.
one thing too. And I
Yeah.
find that as I get older and the more I write, the more I read, the more I want to do.
Yeah. Plus, it's fun for me. I
Yeah,
like to jump, across genres because it's like I don't get bored, you know,
exactly,
because
exactly.
then when I jump from women's fiction to contemporary to, and then if you throw a little bit of paranormal in there, you get to talk about shifters or witches or
Mhm.
something. You're like, hey, you get
Yeah,
to, you know what I mean? It like
all
takes
these
it
different
out.
worlds.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. It's fun for me. Yeah.
yeah. Me too. It's an escape, and I know when I was growing up, I always loved and appreciated authors who offered an escape.
Mhm.
This world that you could just delve into, no matter what you were dealing with in real life,
Yeah.
they offered you that. And I wanted to be able to do that too, to be
I
able
do.
to offer people an escape because goodness knows we all need one sometimes, you know. And
You
I
know,
think that's one of the beauties of reading is that you can learn so much, but you can also it's like you can go to all these places, and just kind of get away from everyday humdrum.
and
So
that's one of my favorite things when it comes to reading is being
mhm.
able to escape into a new place, learn
Ex-
something, think, just see a whole new world. And
yeah,
like you
yeah,
said, that's one of the reasons why I like to be able to also write that. I want to be
mhm.
able to give to readers of my work the same thing that other authors have for years, my entire life. I think, I've shared with people that I love to travel. And I
Mhm.
think that, that's because of books, that's because of movies, that's because people wrote stories that put me in whole different worlds,
Mhm.
like,
Mhm.
whether you're going through like a secret door at the back of a wardrobe or you know what I mean? It's like you got a secret train, stop at a train station. It's like,
Chronicles of Narnia, right?
it's like all of that is like, for me as a child it was amazing, and it made my mind start to work in a way that I think
Exactly.
it continued to work into this day. I love reading it and I love writing.
Mhm. Yeah,
I love to jump around.
yeah,
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 I love different genres.
yeah.
um so, but now, why do you indie publish? Like we said, we used to, print off our manuscripts, put them in the big envelopes, send them off to agents and publishers. What made you decide to really stick and, do this indie game?
Yeah, well, I've been with three different publishing houses. And I mean, not that they were all bad, but one of the things that just kind of turned me away for the longest is that the last one that I was with, I can remember one day I was at dialysis that day, and I got this email saying that they were doing a special promotion for my book on that day. Nobody had said anything to me about it. They hadn't even bothered to send me an email, Angela. And I was like, well, what kind of sense does this make? How can I help now? And at dialysis, there was this, it's like being in a hospital. It's hard to get a signal. And even though I was able to get a signal on my phone, it was hard and I really couldn't do a whole lot. So I couldn't even help out with my own promotion. And it just hit home that you don't have hardly any control over your own work, when you go with a publisher. And now this particular one, they were pretty good about, if I, for instance, if I found a model that I really liked, they didn't mind if if I sent them a picture of the model or something, and they might incorporate that model in the cover, excuse me. But they were just bad about letting me know things in advance. And they would just kind of do things haphazardly that hurt sales and basically just got on my nerves. So I like, even though, it's a whole lot more expensive being an indie author, you have control over everything. You have to do everything, but you have control over everything. So the beauty of that is that as you learn, you can make changes as quickly as you need to. You just have to make time to make those changes as you learn about new things and, learn better ways to do things. Whereas with the publisher, you got to wait until they do it, if they decide to do it, and so yeah. So that's what I like about indie publishing. And then I'm a bit of a control freak anyway, so it just fits my personality better. So
I'm not mad at that. In my lifetime so far, I have had several businesses, nonprofits, various things. I've worked as a marketer, my entire career. And so I'm used to kind of working with contracts, negotiating, doing whatever, pulling projects and programs together. And so I never shied away from the business part. I just didn't want to do it because I did it for like a living. I had to create and produce and negotiate and whatever. And so I just kind of that's why I was printing out those manuscripts, Dariel, and shooting them off to people because I wanted to just be an author. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, just right.
Just right. But like you, I've been with 3 different publishers, small press or digital press publishers, guys, 3 different ones. And one is still operational, but I just pulled back books. The other one went under and not with very much grace. And the other one is closing her doors. But what I found out about through all of them was that they're just entrepreneurs. They're just people who started small businesses.
That's true.
They don't necessarily know any more or less than you.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
what they do know, you could probably learn yourself,
Right.
if you join the associations, watch this channel, listen to this podcast, and find other ones that, others that will share information. But what I just learned is because right now with one of the publishers I'm still with, it's, they're closing their doors. Website is gone, waiting for my reversion letter. Haven't received it. Was told that I would get it. So you have like all of these little hiccups that you really don't want to deal with.
Exactly.
So like for me, indie publishing, unless I go with like another traditional publisher at some point in time in my life, but indie publishing for me not only gives me, that ownership of it, like, oh, I created it, because you guys know I get jazzed off of that, just creating stuff makes me happy. But also because I know that I can control it and that I don't have to worry about somebody having rights or receiving money off of something that I've done,
Right.
not reporting their royalties to me and not
Yeah.
promoting. So I'm out here jetting back and forth to events and doing things, creating things, but you're not getting any update from your publisher about your royalties and things like that. So I just kind of got frustrated with it a little bit as well there. You know, and just like, so if you keep doing something that you know isn't working for you, then that's your fault. So I stopped.
Right.
And now so now I'm trying to see what can be done with the indie game. But but don't get me wrong, guys, there are definitely some awesome digital press publishers and
There are. I mean, and there are some benefits, like I said, it's very expensive being an indie author. I mean, if you want to do it right, you're going to have to spend some money. And then a lot of times, we have to try out different things. And, some things don't work, but then we have to spend money to try it out.
Yeah, see if it's worth the investment, because that's one of the things that we talk about a lot is if you have an author tribe, and if you're not doing it by yourself, you don't have to try everything yourself, because somebody else can try it too. So if you try this product, I try that product, then we compare notes.
Exactly.
Maybe we didn't like either one and we need to try a new one.
Yeah, that is the beauty of the tribe. Yeah.
It is. And and we're going to talk about some collaborations too, which is another beauty of the tribe. But before we get to that, let's talk about some of your specific books. I'm looking at my cheat sheet, guys. Y'all see me looking at my cheat sheet.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of your specific books, Dariel. Like, what do you think was the first book that made people know the name Dariel Raye? Because you're one of the, how many people are on your newsletter, Dariel?
Well, now lately I culled my newsletter, which I do, regularly anyway. But it was about 25,000, and I cut it down to about half that now. Still. And the reason, of course, is because, when people don't, sometimes people drift away. They don't have the same email address, and then everybody gets so many newsletters. So I understand.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I get a lot of them too. But so I mean, it's just life now. But
I mean, do you guys understand that a newsletter that had that many subscribers, when you're talking about somebody who is indie published, this isn't somebody backed by a publisher. This is somebody who is indie published, who has this newsletter. Those are amazing numbers there. I mean, just give you.
Well, I worked hard to get. And I love my subscribers. I mean, because over the year, I have some subscribers who've been with me since I started my newsletter.
That's amazing.
And they are some of my best customers. And some of them over the years have become friends too, because we email each other and talk about different things that are going on. And that's a blessing. I see that as a blessing.
But that's, to me, every time I think about your newsletter numbers, I'm like, my newsletter, I mean, I'm looking at like 4,000, whatever. I'm like 25,000. I'm like, that is it.
It's also a lot harder to do. It's just like the Facebook groups.
Yeah.
You remember back when everybody was starting their Facebook group? Well, see, those people have thousands and thousands of not subscribers, but members, because that was before everybody jumped on it and started doing it, But now it's just harder, as time goes on and everybody's in the game, it gets harder to get as many subscribers, and then people just get inundated by newsletters, so it's like they don't care what you're talking about. they don't have time to open another one.
Yeah, they won't open them. Numbers will be low, but but that's the thing. You have had such a supportive network of followers around you. What was that first book that you think put you in front of them that started this kind of like love fest that you have going on over there?
It was definitely Dark Sentinel. And I feel bad when I say that too, because Dark Sentinels 3 has been forever getting finished, because that heroine is almost me. That heroine has so much in common with me that I have had the hardest time getting that book written. I can't get that woman to work with me for anything. But yeah, but I mean, people, I get emails about that book, so I'm gonna get that book out. I promise, I will. But yeah, but that was the one. It was Dark Sentinels book one,
Wow.
which now is available for free.
For free. When did that book first come out?
That was the one that came out in 2012. That was the one that won the competition. And of course, I've lengthened it since that competition. That competition was, it was really short, and I lengthened it probably about, I think about 7,000 words.
Mhm.
I added to that story because there was so much more, you know, and there's still a lot more to be told. But their story continues in the other books in the series. So yeah, that's they're wolf shifters, but they are sentinel wolf shifters, which was something that I decided I didn't want just regular werewolves. I wanted some who were extra. So they're bigger, stronger, smarter. They can shift whenever they need to, and it's their job to protect everybody. They protect the other shifters. They protect all of the wildlife, and they can protect people. You know, but that's what they're there for. They're created by Mother Nature to do just that.
How many books are you going to have in that series?
There will be, well, now actually there are already three. Because there's a prequel, and a lot of times people miss the prequel because of course it doesn't have a number, and you know Amazon won't list it with the on the book page, on the series page, when it doesn't have a number. But yeah, but there's a prequel. So there's a prequel, there's book one, and there's book two that are out. Book three, I am still working on. That's the one with Heroine Who's Me. And then there's going to be a book four. So there'll be five altogether. Book four is going to be the final.
That's going to be fun. Are you certain about that?
No,
I'm just messing with
that
you.
is. You know how that is. I mean, we have our ideas. You know, I have my world worked out in terms of what they're supposed to do, but you know, they might always, you know, they might always change that.
Yeah.
My characters do, you know, once they start talking, they tell me what to do.
Yeah. And that's so true, guys. I was never a series person, but I have started one series. Well, I've started two series, but one day I'll finish them. But I was never really into series because as a reader, when I finish that story, I like to feel like, okay, all right, that's
That
cool.
feeling of really, yeah,
You
like
know,
that one's done.
that was done. But
Uh-huh.
when you do a series, especially if you find the author at the start of their series, you're
Mhm.
like, where's book 2, 3, 4? What's happening?
I know.
You know? And so I was never into it as a reader. And so I wasn't so into it as a writer either. Because what I found about it when I started to write series, when you build that world, Dariel, you're
Mhm.
like, it's like you're walking around in your own video game. And
Yeah,
you're like,
exactly. I like that.
oh, wait a minute, I don't like her, but I love him, you know, and it's just,
Yeah,
you know. And so when
yeah.
you go back and visit them again, you're like,
Mhm.
well, hey, bro, how have you been? You
I
know,
know. I
I
know.
love it.
Yeah.
So,
I
so
mean, that's what I like for their stories to continue. And I know a lot, I mean, and some people, I mean, people are different, everybody's different, but a lot of people don't like cliffhangers. But my thing is, when you're looking at something on TV, if it's a series that you watch every week, do you expect them to end everything just because you watch that part, that hour part? You know, so I I I love I love some cliffhangers. I really do. And I get some complaints about it, you know, and then of course, you know, a lot of people they don't mind. You know, they know it's a series, so it's not supposed to be all finished. You know, you're not supposed to have the answers to everything after book one or book two, you know. But there are, you know, there's the different kinds. You got the ones that so far mine are all the kind where everybody's story continues. Now, some people's stories are going to end in book three or Dark Sentinels. But but you will have those that continue. And I also have a series coming out that's going to be where each book is complete.
So that's the book and the series that made your fans fall in love with you. But what is your favorite book? What book, if there's a new Dariel Raye fan out there and you're like, you know what, the book you should start with is my favorite. Like, what's your favorite thing that you've written?
My favorite book, and I don't think anybody's ever heard me say this before, but when somebody new comes along and they say, because I've had some people ask me, and in fact, some people locally have asked, what would you suggest I start with? And I say, okay, well, what kinds of creatures do you like? Because most of them are about creatures. So my favorite, though, is Dangerous Beauty, Sexy Beast. Dangerous Beauty, Sexy Beast. And it's a novella. It's set in Mobile. And that may be part of it that I like, because I know this area so well, I know the area's history. And that's what I used when I was writing it. And this was the first home of Mardi Gras. A lot of people don't know that, but it was. Because Mobile was the first capital of France in the Americas. And they moved it because New Orleans wasn't even a thing when Mobile was settled before New Orleans. So it was in Mobile, and then they shifted to New Orleans. Of course, New Orleans is more spread out and it's larger, and they get a whole lot more publicity. So that's why people know about New Orleans for Mardi Gras. But it started here, and we do still have it every year. But it's set during Mardi Gras because I was writing it during Mardi Gras season. And it is based on, it's an adult fairy tale retelling. It's based on Beauty and the Beast. And, but there's this strong Black female heroine who's a fighter. She was trained in jujitsu. And in fact, I'm probably going to do more with that series. And some people have asked, they say they would love to find out more about these characters, that heroine and that hero. And that hero is, I can't tell you a lot about him because a lot of things you don't find out until you read it. But he's a beast. He's a beast, but he's a sexy beast. And I can't tell you a whole lot more about him because you have to read it to really find out what happened to him and how he became a beast, all that kind of stuff. But you know the Beauty and the Beast story. So
yeah, I love those retellings.
There are some little, oh, I do too. And there are some, there's some twists in there. But but if they like the traditional shifters, I tell them to start with Dark Sentinels, book 1. That's Sable. And Sable is a lot of people's favorite out of all the characters I've written. It's him.
Yeah.
He's just this cool sentinel wolf shifter. I mean, he's got good manners. He's he uses a little profanity, but and of course he does have a slight temper. But the woman that he ends up with, she has more of a temper. So he's pretty laid back, and he gets along with her really well. So but all of my books have they have strong female leads, and predominantly African American. I have 2, I think, that are not interracial, multicultural books. But mostly I write African American females as the heroine because there's a dearth, at least when I was growing up reading, and started reading romance since I was older then. And I was always looking for women who looked more like me. So I wanted more of that. And it's really nice. It's been nice to see more of that. I like romance. I like to read romance, period. But yeah, but it's important when you never see images of yourself as the heroine and as the one who's desiring. So that's very important. And I think a lot of times, well, I guess back then people just didn't even think about that, you know. But we did, because when you see yourself missing, that's a problem, you know.
It's a huge problem. I think, and people who listen to this channel and this podcast, they've heard me say it a million times before. But when you don't see yourself in the art around you,
Mm-hmm.
it's just kind of like a subliminal message that you don't matter, that you're not important, and
Right.
that's the
Right.
that's the thing about it, is like, we all matter, we all are important, we all should be a part of every story, every story that
Right.
makes sense to be a part of. Now there are some places that
Mm-hmm.
I would not be, but there might be another Black woman who might be there. She might be at the top of Michu.
Yeah.
Was it Michu Picchu? What is it? She might be at the top of a mountain. She might climb Mount Everest, but
Right.
that won't be me. I'm just like, we all. I mean, and I think that that's the thing, because because I've been doing this now for so many years. But just like you, when I first started, it was because I didn't see people like me. And think about how so much has changed over the past years, Dario. When from even like a corporate America
Yeah.
or whatever standpoint, like I remember, and I would tell people that, like even just wearing your hair natural, right? As a natural, having like for so long
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't really permissible for corporate women to wear their hair natural. But now we see it in movies, we see it
Mm-hmm.
in cartoons and books, and we see it everywhere, to where it's given, it's honestly given permission for Black women to be able to like walk into a corporate environment, whether you are a lawyer, a marketer, a teacher. It's given us permission. So seeing ourselves, you know, you know, through these different lenses
Right.
has helped with that change, because it wasn't necessarily us who didn't want to do it. It was the people around us who don't understand our hair, or who don't understand things about us. They're like, well, what? Why does your hair look like that?
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
quick story. I was in a bar one time, sitting there with friends. A woman walked up to me and just stuck her hand in my head. And I was like,
Oh
well, that's a story for another day.
no. Like it's community property.
Why are you touching me?
Yeah. I mean, that's just like when you're expecting and somebody just walks up and puts their hand on your stomach. It's like, it's still my stomach.
And honestly, I had to think about that, because when I have friends who are pregnant, you want to be like, I'd be like, oh, I can't touch you. That's not right.
Yeah.
But when that happened to me, I was just like, I don't understand why you were touching me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was hilarious. But again, it's that thing, just it was just hilarious. Anyway, but that brings me to another point, Darren. We talk about books and the ones that you like and the ones that put you on kind of like the map in the indie world. Well, let's talk quickly about collaborations. Let's talk a little bit about what, you and we're collaborating soon, So let's talk a little bit about collaborations. You and I are going to be collaborating soon.
Mm-hmm.
What makes you do these collaborations? And even like the one that you and I'll be working on, share a little bit about that. What makes you kind of do collaborations, come up with the idea behind some of them? Share a little bit with everybody.
I love working with other authors, and we all have our own unique voices. And when we bring that to a project, we can do so much more with it. You know, I think the last big thing I did with a lot of authors was, it was an end of summer thing. Last Days of Summer was the last big thing I did, and it was a lot of fun, and it was very successful. I think everybody enjoyed it. It was there was a free book offered like every 10 minutes, and I did it on my page on Facebook, and each author sent a post, and they were offering a free book. So for that free book, readers had to do something to enter this contest. And it just worked out really well. It was a lot of fun. They're a lot of work, but they're a lot of fun too. I like getting to know different authors, and there's just something about working with creative minds I've always loved. And I remember back when I was a music major, we used to always talk about how we were we're always so different. We just tend to be a little weird and just kind of out there. We don't conform to normal stuff. So it's just something about working with creative minds. So yeah, but and the ideas, I guess they just kind of come at random. Now this what we're working on now, you and I, Angela, what we're getting ready to do, that was actually another author friend's idea, Stephanie Tullis. And she and I were talking on the phone, and she mentioned it, and she mentioned it kind of tentatively because she didn't know if I would be into it or not. And I jumped at the idea because we were thinking the same thing. With so much tension and everything going on now, I think everybody needs an outlet, and everybody has a voice, but a lot of times we just kind of go on about our business and do what has to be done, and we don't always talk about these things and these feelings, and people would be surprised sometimes about what our day-to-day lives are like and how we feel about certain issues. So so anyway, so we're about to share that, and that's going to be nonfiction, and I'm really excited about it.
And you guys heard her, she said nonfiction. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm like,
So new genre.
let's get the nonfiction hat on.
Yes.
But it
And
is.
it's a different world too.
It is, because, storytelling nonfiction, from that narrative point of view perspective, is like a different thing than my fiction life, where I can just go all inside of everybody else's head, not my own. Right. But I was so happy that you reached out and asked me to be a part of that, because, born and raised in the southern parts of the States, I feel like there are a lot of things I could tell. So, but it's like when you first asked me about that, I was like, ooh, how do I, because my thing was like, how am I going to tell this story? And it's not from a place of anger.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because when it's from a place of anger and it just has this angry tone throughout, it's hard for people to read it, especially if you want them to learn anything. I mean, because it's hard for us to believe sometimes, but there are people who would like to know more, who would like to understand what to do, but they really don't know, because they've never been in an environment where they felt comfortable asking, or they have that kind of personality where it's difficult for them to ask. And a lot of times those people stay stuck. They keep saying these things, or they have what I found that they have a tendency to do is to deny that, for instance, deny that racism exists at all. And it's that's hard for us to even imagine how somebody could do that, but they do it every day. So
because it's a safe place. Because if you admit that it exists, then
you might have to do something about it.
You may have to do something about it, but then you also have to admit that that you just like ignored it, you know?
Right.
And then does that make you complicit? You know, where does your accountability end?
Yeah.
You know, and I think that that's the thing, because you know, shame and guilt and all kinds of other emotions come in when people, you know, they admit or they acknowledge these other things. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. You know,
I'm really excited about that. Or they'll say things like, well, yeah, there may be this, or there may be instances of that, but that's not racism. And I'm like, but it is.
Yeah.
And I think some of it is, it's the word racism. Nobody wants to be called a racist. You know, it's racism. It's that word.
Yeah.
But there are many nuances of racism. There are many levels of racism, but it's still racist.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I talk with a lot of my friends who are not Black Americans, you know, who are not African Americans. You know, I talk with them about microaggressions, you know, or people being biased, you know, this way or that way, you know, and how all of these things fall out of, you know, these kind of generalizations and stereotypes that feed back into some racist thoughts and what have you.
Right.
And so it is very, very interesting to me.
It
Because
is.
in my old life and as a marketer in healthcare, one of the things that I would do is talk with, you know, incoming, you know, nursing staff and, you know, doctors and things like that about their, you know, about what we all look at as our own kind of implicit bias and things like that. So
and we do all have some. Yeah. We all have some.
We all have some.
You know, they may not be related to skin color or ethnicity at all, but we all have some.
We all do.
There are groups of people that I don't want to work with. It has nothing to do with race, but that's a story for another day. But I learned that when I was working on my master's in psychology. That was one of the things we had to do. We had to go through a year of therapy ourselves. We had to take this battery of tests, and in that battery of tests, what they were trying to do was to show you or make you aware of your own bias.
Your own bias,
And I mean, and some of them I hadn't even realized how biased I was about certain things. I mean, to the point where I would never want to work with certain groups of people. And one of them, child molesters. I have too much anger about child molesters. I have too much anger towards rapists. So those are two groups of people that when I was working as a therapist, they never assigned to me. I never accepted patients who had who committed any acts. Yeah.
But you know what?
Yet I could work with murderers.
See?
You know, I can work with somebody who's killed somebody, but I can't work with a rapist or a child. So, you know, they're not always logical.
But you know, and that's the thing, because I think it depends on, you know, how you look at logic. You know, like, was a murder in like a self-defense or whatever. You know what I mean? And I think that's the thing. If we as people of color want people to understand what we're trying to show them, which this collabo that we're gonna do, you know, is gonna kind of like dig into us with these nonfiction stories, because we want people to kind of have this understanding.
Right.
We also have to admit our own bias so that we can make sure that we're not just throwing judgment and blame and not open to understanding what's happening within our own selves.
Exactly.
So I'm excited for you guys to see it. I've not done anything nonfiction that anyone has ever seen before. So I think it's going to, because it's in, how many authors are going to be in this one, Dariel?
There will be 9 or 10.
Okay, yeah. So it's going to be it. So you guys keep your eyes out for it. It'll be out there somehow.
Yeah. It's coming.
Dariel, get on her newsletter. Find out when it's coming out. But go in my newsletter. You know.
That's right. That's right.
But yeah, but you guys, I think you guys will be, you know, I think it's going to be a really interesting thing, especially for all of our allies out there, you know, I think every person of color I know probably has some story they could share with you. But for all of our allies out there who never get to hear the conversations we hear or see the things we see or feel the things we feel because you are not a person of color, you know, I hope that you'll actually check this, you know, check this piece out when it's available. Because I think, you know, it might show you, you know, open up our worlds to you a little bit. You might see something that you just, you know, never thought would actually be possible. But now, Dario, we've talked about our upcoming collab, but now let's tell everybody what is next for you. You know, so what's the next thing that we can expect from Dariel Raye?
Okay, well, I have one that I am nearly finished with. It's going to be it should be available this month actually for later this month for pre-order, and it'll release in October. And that's going to be the next book in my Orlosian Warrior series. They are Nephilim, and they are actually children of. So this is the next book in that series. Gideon's Light is the name of it. But right now there's also a novella for that series, Outreach. And Outreach actually comes after book 2. But it's about a character who's kind of set apart from the others. But it is set in that same world as the Orlosian Warrior series. But anyway, that's what's coming next. And after that, I promise to focus on Dark Sentinels book 3 because it will actually be the 4th book in that series because there is a prequel to the Dark Sentinel series as a series. So, yeah.
All right, you guys gonna hold her to it, huh?
Yeah.
All of you on her newsletter, you know, you watch this. Everybody out there, when that newsletter comes out, you just shoot her back a message and say, "Hey, where's the details about Dark Sentinels 3?" Okay.
And my email is there. I always have it there. So
you know that people are gonna ask.
Fuss at me or whatever. With anything to keep the fire under me to get that book out because I've been promising that book for a while now.
Yeah, you know, and it's so funny because we all get like that. I remember back in the day when I first started in this, I'd be like, "Oh yeah, this book is coming out on May 1st." And then you'd be like, "Wait a minute, book doesn't come out till July 25th." So now I'm like, "Oh, it'll be out in the spring."
I know.
And actually, honestly, I'm probably more like, it'll be out sometime this year. But
right. Yeah.
You know,
I'm getting smarter. I am getting smarter. It's slow, but it's slow coming, but I'm getting smarter. I'm just getting, I think as I get older and as I work towards perfecting the craft, there's so much more I want to do to each story. And I think that's slowing me down. I believe it's making me a better writer, but I think it slows me down too, because one of the things I like to do is I don't like to do it, but that's just the way my mind works. I can't work on just one story at a time. So that's one reason it takes me a while to get one out, because I'm almost always working on at least 2 stories. And then when I get closer to the end, I focus in on that one, that, whichever one looks like I'm gonna get finished with it first. But then I like to set it aside for a little bit and go back to it and read it through in case there's anything I missed, any holes and all that, because I'm a plotster. So I write my cursory outline, and I can do a really detailed outline, but I don't stick to it, so I don't usually waste my time doing that unless I'm working with somebody else. But I'll do this, this cursory outline, and then of course I'm just all over it, just all over the place with it. So I don't write in a linear fashion either. So I might start in the middle of the book or at the end of the story, whatever scene comes to me first. So with all that going on, I need to go back and read it through before I send it to an editor.
Oh my God, no, I
said that. I was like, wait a minute, what's that?
Oh my God, no. I'm such a pantser. I mean, I have tried to get better over the years and do a little bit more of a little bit of an outline, but it is in no way detailed. Whenever I've tried to go super, super detailed, I found that it almost starts to bore me. And then it's like, okay, now, because I like discovering my story.
Yeah, yeah,
And so when I'm
yeah.
plotting and it's like, it's too much deep, I'm like, I'm over it now.
But this is no fun now. This is
Yeah,
no
it's
fun.
no fun now. Like, let me go do this. So I just do like little beats, like, this is the inciting incident, and then this happens, this is the dark moment, this happens,
Yeah.
and I kind of do it like that.
And
But
that's enough. Yeah, that's enough.
it's enough for me, and
Yeah.
I barely follow it, but it's a good thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I don't even follow it. But what I found does help is if I focus on the character and the character arc.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, once I get that character down, the character will lead me, or
Yep.
the characters will lead me, because there's always going to be the hero and the heroine, in the romances, and actually in the psychological suspense, there's a hero and a heroine too. So they help a lot once I get them fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
So I focus on that. Because
Yeah.
I find that, if I just try to write a story and I'm just, this happened and then that happened and then this is supposed to happen, because that's, I, I just can't do it. Because when it comes to like their dialogue and that kind of stuff, it's like, I need to know, okay, well, he wouldn't say something like that, or she, this is what she'd say there, this is what she'd do, because I need to know these people. So.
Yeah. And I think that that's how, like, I am a linear writer. I really am. But one of the things about it is that because I do kind of that little outline, it allows me that if something pops into my head, I can add it to my outline. Oh, I want to do this. So I won't necessarily write it in that moment, because I'll try to do it, because I do kind of like to write in order, because that's how I'm discovering my characters for me. It's like, oh, okay, so this is what he would do and she would do and whatever would do and blah, blah, blah. But then I also write in what I call layers. Like, I stack my story.
Mm-hmm.
When I write it the first time, I'm getting the story from here to the computer, right? Or to the paper. But then that story is, that's not meant for anybody to ever see. That's just the word coming from my head to that, you know what I mean? Exactly. But then it's like I start to layer it, and then I'll be like, oh wait, this needs a whole other scene over here, and oh wait, this dude is suffering from XYZ. Why would he do that? And so then I can go back and I can like layer in additional, scenes or scene setting, emotion, and I can start to build up to where you have a more full rounded story. But when I first started, it was like I felt like I was writing like very simple stories, but then as we grow in what we're doing, like you said earlier, I feel like now I write stories that are way more intricate than when I first began. Because there are even stories that I was like, I don't know if you have this, Dariel, but there were stories that I was afraid to write. Because I was like, ooh, yeah, I wanna wait until I can do this, that, and the other, and weave it. Because even with my Civil War stories, I love historicals, but I didn't want to write one because it takes so much to learn the history and then to mess it up and figure out where your story can connect with it. And so I didn't want to like put off people who love historicals or who love history, but in the end, it's not history anymore by the time I finish with it, because I've made it a paranormal romance fiction.
Okay.
But but I was like so afraid to write it because it's about the American Civil War, and so how do you write like a romance? How do you put that in the middle of the Civil War, which is so brutal, and so you know what I mean? So I was really afraid to write it, and I have 2 more books to write in that, and and I love the story, I love the world, but but it's that thing when you just kind of get into it and you're like, Ooh, you know, because
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
could be so heavy. It could be so heavy, but yeah. So no, I don't know how you do it, Dario. Non-linear, and you plot. Oh,
Well, and I found the same thing though about the my stories started out simpler, and
mm-hmm.
now they're more complex. It's like they're getting more serious too. I mean,
Yep.
of course, I've always loved a lot of action. I
Mm-hmm.
don't like what I write is not. Um, I mean, it's not true romance. I mean, there's definitely romance,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of action. They could be action movies with romance. So because I do love action, and because I like to watch action movies, and um, I like the paranormal series where there's a lot of action, a lot of fighting, a lot of stuff. So as far as just romance with people sitting up talking, oh no. And I've never liked that. Even when I was younger, I didn't care for that. But I do find now certain tools help me too. I use my voice recorder on my phone. A lot of times I'll be lying in bed and think, um, oh, she needs to do such and such before she does that. And I've already written that, so I need to go back and add this. So I'll just tell myself in my voice recorder. I've got all kinds of recordings of things I need to write, and then I also have a program on my phone, text to speech. So, I use that one too sometimes for actual parts of scenes. Um, and I write in Scrivener because in Scrivener it doesn't really matter whether you're a linear writer or not because you can just use, you can use the little, um, oh, what do you call it, index cards, and they're digital index cards, of course, but you can use those and just put them in order when you finish. So, like, I can write this scene today, and it might go near the end of the story, and then
Okay.
I can go back and order them, put them in the right order. So,
Well, that's cool. I've never. I compile my ebooks through Scrivener, but I don't actually
okay,
write in Scrivener. So you're
okay.
one of the first people I've met who actually writes in Scrivener.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Yeah, I even did a. I'll link it in this too, guys. But I did a tutorial on how I use Scrivener because I have so many friends who are just like, "How do you create your ebooks?" Because especially now, this whole thing with me trying to go wide or wider with my books, I upload direct to a lot of sellers, and so I want to be able to upload them in EPUB and whatever, and so a lot of my friends are like, how do you create your ebooks? So, because they want to do the same thing instead of using aggregators and stuff like that. But yeah, you're one of the first people that I've met who actually writes in Scrivener.
And you're one of the first people that I talked to who doesn't use one of the aggregators
Mm-hmm.
to,
Yeah,
to upload to the different uh, platforms.
yeah,
Because,
and I use a mixture, because I just started. I interviewed Mark Coker, CEO and founder of Smashwords, and like I told him, it's like when I first started in this whole indie world, it was Amazon and Smashwords, and
yeah,
because indie publishing really wasn't something that people were like, oh, indie published authors, come over here,
right.
checking for us. So it was like, trying to make sure you could get your books into people's hands.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, you who didn't use Amazon, and with Amazon you can use their expanded distribution. But for me, I was going directly to the other booksellers, but I still, have learned that I still wasn't wide enough because, you know, um, if you go directly to some of these booksellers, then that allows you to promote, through some of the promotions and programs that they have,
Mm-hmm.
and so just learning different things like that. I'm like, oh, well, I need to be doing these other things so I can make sure that I have sales on these other platforms.
I need to talk to you some more about that. Yeah.
All right, people, everybody out there in YouTube world, podcast land, if you can hear my voice, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Dariel, for joining me today.
Thank you for inviting me, Angela. And it's nice to actually see you live in person.
I know, right? It's so funny, guys. I'm telling you, when you're in this game, you meet so many people, and it's just like you're like, how have I never met this person before?
I know.
You know? So it's so cool to finally see your.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to collabing with you. You know, I can't wait for people to see this.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
I think they're gonna like it.
Yeah.
But if you guys are out there, I hope that you will reach out to me and to Dariel. And actually, I almost forgot, Dariel, we didn't tell them your social. We know you have this newsletter, but what's your other social media so that they can reach out to you?
The best way to find me, and in fact, all of my other social hangouts, social network hangouts are listed there, is on my website. And it's, there is no www, it's just HTTPS, with the 2 backslashes, DarielRaye.com. That's it.
And like I said, once you get there, join the other people and sign up for her newsletter.
Yeah.
And you can hop over to my website and join my newsletter. Let's get it
Right.
They say, get my website.
I like to do little special things for my newsletter subscribers when I can.
See, that's why she's got 25,000. All right.
Sometimes we have little exclusive giveaways and such that other people don't know about, or they get like 2 chances and everybody else gets 1. That kind of stuff.
See, I'm gonna have to get my newsletter game up, Dariel. Get my newsletter game up. It's okay.
Those are valuable people. And I like to treat them as such.
I'm always asking them to do stuff for me. Like, help me with this. Sign up.
I know.
So, smooches. Mwah, mwah. I love all of you.
I love you too.
My newsletter.
And thank you.
Guys, thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of Live Free. I hope that you've enjoyed the conversation. And if you have, please subscribe, like, comment, reach out to Dariel and myself. And I hope that I will see you guys all again soon.
Bye-bye.